And kind of an important time in the market, I believe. We have indices that have moved back up towards resistance. Have a steady climb on the S&P from the March low, taking it from 3808 to 4169, 350 points, and holding up pretty well. Matter of fact, last week, nice little steady pullback towards the trend line and a little bit of a bounce. We'll see if we can get going from here. Key support right now on the S&P for me is 4,070. Beneath that is the moving average at 4,034. On the upside, resistance certainly is 4170 and 4195. Any move above that, we have a shot at taking this to 4325.50 area. The NASDAQ 100 to me looks even better in that you see the triple bottom base to break up the trend line, the three-wave corrective pullback flag, test of the moving averages, a new trend line established, a run up, taking out the highs, and now a flag pattern has developed for about 2.5 weeks. Obviously, double top resistance at NDX is about 13.2. Above that, 13.6 and 14.1 might be doable. Interesting pattern has developed. I like the look of it. My problem is the transportation and small caps index are not confirming. The transportation hasn't even gotten back above that lateral price resistance, although it did take out the declining top sign. It does look like potentially, because of the trend line break, I wouldn't call it a bear flag per se or bear wedge, but it could be if it breaks down from here. This is a critical area for the transportation neck. If it's going to confirm basic Dow theory, it's going to have to make a move up here and start to accelerate. Also, the small cap index, the IWM that I follow to track the Russell 2000, very similar action as it came down hard from nearly 200 down to 167, bounced and formed what looks like a bear wedge, but any movement back above, say, 180 could get this really going again, and also be a confirmation of the overall general market health. Right now, it's mixed, and it's kind of a little bit, the jury's still out on the market direction, in my opinion, although I'm bullish in general, much more so than most people that I talk to, which is a good sign, I think. We'll see. What about the oscillators and where they are? The McClellan oscillator right now is kind of neutral at -4. It got down in March down to -253 and then zoomed to plus 186 in that overhead, what I would call overbought zone. This is oversold. So we're kind of neutral now. Also not an indicator of where the market's going to go, but we wanted to give you a look at that. The percentage of stocks above the 40 has improved dramatically from about 12 or 13% all the way up to near 50%, and is showing that although, again, with the market in a mixed picture, there are about 50% of stocks above the 40 versus 50% below, so it's definitely a stock picker's market, no question about it. The VIX, well, it's showing a little bit of apathy, which is also dangerous. But we got a spike to 30, nearly 31, March 13th, and only 5 weeks later, we got down to only 16. So 16 is the lowest level of reading that I've seen since early 2022. So it's definitely showing no fear in the market, which is interesting considering the condition of the market is kind of neutral and it's still in doubt. Well, maybe because it is in doubt that there's no fear yet. That could change dramatically. Let's look at the components of the NASDAQ 100, starting with Apple, which has been in a nice uptrend, did pull back last week, but bounced on Friday off the trend line. Amazon's looking much better as it breaks out, not only across your important 1.5 year long declining top line after 5 waves down, but this reversal could have been very negative. Now it was negative because it dropped from the 113 area back down to the high 80s, actually 88, right? From 88, we've gotten back to 107, but the breakout on Friday key, I think, with increasing volume of 90 million shares. So Amazon looking much better. I like this setup on Google because it's got a nice triple bottom base breakout in the platform, which could accelerate into the 113, 18, 22, 23 area over the next few weeks and months, provided we get that kind of a trend in the market. It looks like we could. Microsoft, still a solid chart after breaking its declining top line and pulling back to test the moving average twice, it then spiked. Now it's in a rising channel, but it's consolidating for a couple weeks. Maybe it's set up for more upside near 300. Netflix pulled back down to test the trend line and bounce, but it's at resistance. While Meta looks much better, although that one has pulled back a little bit in a flag pattern to test the moving average trend line as well. Beautiful uptrend. It's taking this one from 88, folks, from 88 to 222. Pretty amazing move from November through mid-April. NVDA leading the semiconductors, and you can see why. Powerful pattern. Now in a multi-week, 4-week, month-long kind of flag pattern, which could lead to over 300. And finally, Tesla, which has been broken down, and they got down to secondary support and held, but it was an inside day, and I'm not sure how healthy the stock looks. Actually, it looks bearish to me. That's a bad breakaway gap, and you're at secondary support, and any breakdown below, say, 157.8, and this stock could collapse into the high 130s, low 140s. Let's look at the NASDAQ generals, and for the most part. We have a lot of stocks to cover, so let's get to it. And before we do that, just a quick look at the three ETFs I follow closely that are representative of the semiconductor group, the SMH. Powerful pattern. Currently a little bit of a wedge. We don't want to break down here because that could collapse the whole thing. So this is why this is a key area for the market, because if semiconductors come down, this market is going to take a break. If they can pop to the upside, for example, if SMH takes out 255.6 early next week, it could run with an eventual target of 283. Financials were suffered dramatically because of the banks have come back, but I'm not clear after double bottoming here whether that's more of just a corrective 1, 2, 3 rising kind of flag, or it's something more meaningful that's going to eventually break out over 67.8 and then move up back up and towards the mid 70s. Got to be careful with that one. Biotechs were represented by XBI, very similar bounce back. This one, though, has gotten above the moving average. I think last week's action on it was key. It broke out above that line. Now we can see if we can extend. Now there's a long-term declining top line. It comes in at about 85.5, 6 area. That's the target for this week coming up if it does break out over 82.80. I like the potentiality for that one. And we also follow LABU, but it's a much smaller stock that looks right at resistance. This too is broken out, but it's flagging for 4 days. If I can get the LABU to make a pop above 610, I think it can reach 7.5 or more. All right, so look at those ETFs. Let's look at some of the ETFs for gold and silver. The GDX, after coming right up to the top of the long-term channel line, tagging it almost exactly, reversed, leaving a little island reversal. You see it there? And now we're back down to support right there, and this is a key area for it, because if that's all it's got, we'll move up. If not, there's maybe the kind of movement we saw here where we came down substantially. Could see a retest of the 31 zone, where support and price support is and moving average support is. So I'm not keen on gold right now or silver. The nugget, JNUG, looks similar. And in the silver sector, HEQ, which was a little stronger actually and broke out, has also begun a pullback that could have a more substantial retrace. In the oil area, the major declining top sign was given a breakout with a pop, and we got the triple top resistance and backed off to test the 50, which is now at 66.90. So we're just above it at 68.20. If it holds here, we can come back and maybe move and break out, but this is a key area for oil, I believe, because if oil breaks here, we'll come down into the 63 range and have a much deeper retrace in the actual price of oil itself. In the natural gas area, we have UNG, which is right to pop and pull right back, so there's no discernible trend there. And of course, our Boyle, same pattern. They're sister stocks. Until Boyle gets above there, until I see Boyle take out 382, I'm not going to get too excited about any movement in natural gas. But above that, that's a different story. So stay tuned on that. That's what covering oil, gas, gold, and silver. A bunch of stocks to cover today. Let's take a look at them. Many bullish charts. I tried to narrow it down as much as I could. We have a bit of work to do here. ACCD, how about that? After forming a nice base, it's broken out, pulled back and tested. Now it's moving again. My targets are 19 and 23. ACHV, beautiful uptrend, and after a pullback on Thursday, it tested support right at the breakout point here, the prior high. It snapped back big time and it jumped up 16.5% on Friday, making new highs here. My targets now are 9 and a half, 3/4, and 11. ACLX, one of my top picks of the year, after consolidating for weeks now, and coiling, has broken out big time in the last 7 or 8 sessions. Last 2 weeks, it's gone from 27 to 40 and 3/4. Beautiful move, and it is a bit short-term extended, but I like the overall look of this chart indeed. AEHR may have a problem, folks. Keep an eye on this one. I do not like when a stock breaks out and then rolls over, bounces and forms a bear flag. The moving averages cross over. This stock is in jeopardy. You must stop on the 26.5, and right now on Friday's low is 26.39. This is the lowest level reached since back in January for AEHR, so dangerous looking to me, because if it collapses, we could be back in the low 20s very quickly. AGYS is a beautiful long-term chart, and it's been consolidating for 4 months in an ascending bull coil. Should it break out, you can see 100, 115, 20 or more. AI, folks, is also in big danger as it came down hard, formed a bear wedge and broke down, closing under support or right at it at 2021, making new low at 1955. If it doesn't snap back here sharply and starts to fall away, we can see the stock at 15, 16 quickly. ALDX, beautiful biotech stock that is in a nice uptrend and above resistance from back in the middle of 2021. Might have a target now at 13 and a half area. Big movement Friday on ALXO. 3 days in a row, heavy volume on the upside for this stock. Now leads me to believe this could go up another couple points to 8. AMAM explodes, falling wedge, another strong surge, another flag and a breakout. No telling how far this goes, but it is a massive 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth wave could extend into the high teens, low 20s. This one could be wildfire. Keep an eye on it. APA, that's on my short side. APLS swing trade after it broke out. We put a swing on it in the, I think it was mid to high 70s, and it's made it to 88 area. Beautiful rising channel. No telling how far this can go, but my targets are 99, 98, something like that early on. The apps, well, when it popped out and we started to reverse, I put a swing on it, but it really hasn't done much more than consolidate. Although it is above the moving averages, which are crossing over here. So let's see if we can get this one. And I would wait to do anything until it gets above 1290. And then your targets at 13 and a half, 15 and more. ARCT, beautiful base, breakaway gap, run up through resistance, and stair step its way higher. I got a target of 31 to 36. ARDX, gorgeous rising channel for a year nearly, taking it from $0.50 to 5, 10-fold increase, and yet I don't see it being done yet. It looks to me like it could be a $6, $7 stock short term. ARLO broke out of a base, formed a wedge. We showed you that one a month ago. It subsequently ran up, flagged, and then had a really bullish engulfing reversal day, first coming down to the prior high and the 21-day moving average, and then spiking up and closing positively with a target now of near 8. ASRT wedging near the apex of a month-long coil after a big run up. It might be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and if the wave 5 comes, we could see 8, 9, or 10 on this one. A lot of potential. ATLX, pop, coil, and it's starting to run again. Take a look. It's thin, be careful, but it could run. AUPH, tech traded swing, broke out, came down, popped and broke out again, backed off, now forming a little wedge. For me, This overall pattern is very bullish. That wedge breaks out, we're probably headed for, I would say, near 13. AVDL with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and then a pullback has been in a slow rising channel for months now. And Friday's action was important. That's why I'm showing it to you. 1, 2, 3, or 4 tops in here. We've just popped through it, up about 7% on Friday. Volume increasing to 1.3 million. My target's 11.5 and 13. AXSM, also a tech traded form of swing. Looks like it can extend. It just broke out of the falling channel up to resistance. My targets are 82 and 90. Recent IPO BANL just rocketed from 4 to 21 and pulled back, but Friday snapped back 448. It's thin, but it can run 26, 28 type targets. Bellerophon exploded in January, long multi-week dropping, falling channel. There's your breakout. The 2-day pause at the moving average, and then boom, now a rising channel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks to me like a fifth wave. Could take this one to 17, 18, 19. BMEA exploded as well, falling wedge and breakout. Solid close Friday. Now looking for a retest of high 30s. BWEN with a big explosive move and then a 1, 2, 3 wave pullback into the gap. Broke back out there. Breakaway gap above the moving averages. A pullback, a pop on Friday. One of the reasons I'm giving it to you is that Friday's action at 15% with increasing volume, even though it is thin, could get you to 6 and 7.5. CABA with a big long run up, a nice move that took it from literally 55 cents to $12. It came down and now has got this bull coil development. If it should pop, and I would wait for it, above, I'd have to go above 9. Above $9 it could take off, and my target would be 11.5. CABA, long multi-month consolidation broke out in December and ran solidly from 3 and change to 10 and change, more than tripling. My targets now are 11.5 and 13. Swing trade Cognite with a pop breakout. We put a swing on it, then pulled back, and now it's coming on again. If it takes out 454, my targets are 5.5 and 6.5. Cody's been in a phenomenal uptrend along with ELF. Cody and ELF just two, I would call lower price cosmetics lines. This one's gone from 620 to 12 and change and more than doubled, while ELF has rocketed near 100. Take a look at that. And up to 97 on Friday from a low a year ago, 20. Nearly 5-fold increase. CRBP breaks out of a downtrend, explodes, retests, pops and goes to resistance and backs off and reverses Friday. I like the look of this one. It's very sharp rising channel. Don't know if it can maintain that, but it should do that. You can see how this stock could be 15, 17, 20. CRMD breaks out of a base and sits here, consolidates. That's a nice setup for more upside. My targets are 6 and 7.5. CRSP, a tech traded swing, broke out, extended, and then backed off, but Friday reversed off support. My targets now are 58 and 64 on CRSP. CYH popped Friday, jumping $1.89 or 17.5%, and broke out across resistance. Key breakout. Now it should lead to 7, 7.75, and 9. DraftKings tech traded swing as it broke out. It extended all week. To me, it looks like it's hit it to 25 and 30. Let's go back and look at the chart again. Look at that beautiful base. EDIT popped, we put a swing on it. It followed through for a day and backed off the flag or wedge in here. You see it? Still looking for 9, 10, 12. EHTH broke out, I believe it was back in January, February when we put a swing on it. Eventually made the target of near 10. It got up to 10.57 and backed off. For the last couple months now, it's been coiling. I need this to hold around here. Your stop would be under 7.25, but a move above 10, I think, gets you to 12 or better. There's ALF, we just showed it to you. ELOX with an explosive move. This biotech stock went from 223 to 1051, 5-fold increase in a week. So you're going to get your pullback. We got one, but it may have reversed Friday, jumping 71 cents. Retesting 10.5, again 12.5 are your targets. ELOS popped on Friday out of a 3-month coil, and volume picked up, but not significantly enough for me to say it's on its way. Nevertheless, my targets are 9 3/4 and 11. ETNB in a wonderful long-term rising channel has gone from basically 8-fold from 2 to 17. Above 17, looking at 22. EYEN, what a move. Broke out, wedged. Popped that wedge right there, and it's been smoking ever since. It is near the top of the channel, but my target is 6.5. EYPT went ballistic. It's gone from 3 to 10, more than tripling in just a week and a half. So it's a little extended and overbought. But I would say, I think the stock eventually can make it up to the 12-13 range. FDMT, sorry, one of my picks for the year, finally broke out last week and went for the last several sessions. It's gone from 1460 to 22, 50% move in about 7 sessions. At resistance, but my next target would be up here to retest the 26 range. First Solar has been on a phenomenal move all year. Breakaway gap back in July of last year, and you can see the rising channel. Currently in a rising bull flag of sorts. A takeout of 220, I think gets you to 245.50. Fastly breaks out of a base, 3-wave corrective flag, popped to a new high, and now it's wedging. On the trend line, near a wedge, targeting 18, 20, 22. GANX, big move in the last few sessions, coming out of a flag. It's now up for 8 days in a row. Friday in particular was a big spike. I'm hearing nothing but good stuff in this company. And I have a target now of 9, 10, 12. GE, what a move this year on General Electric. You had a double bottom base, breakout, pull back to the moving average, and then a phenomenal rising channel. It's still in play. My target, 110.12. Spin-off GE Healthcare Technologies, and ever since the IPO, has gone from 53 to 87. It looks like it could be $90 to $100 stock. GNLX recent IPO with an explosive move and pullback retester, 0.375 fib, or almost a 50% fib. Spiked back up and now it's flagging. Look at that flag. If it pops out, this could be 40, 45. HEAR, beautiful triple bottom base, breaks out and gives me a little pullback. I like the look of it. My targets are 13 and 15. HIMS breaks out last week, continues to look higher, $15 target. HROW, one of my top picks of the year, and you can see why. Phenomenal chart. It's gone from 5 to 25. Right now my target's 29 and 34. Integrated Science Holdings, IAS, beautiful rising channel after a long decline. Flagging now. My next target is 17 and 20. IBRX may have turned it around. Declining top sign broken. Good. Let's move off the low from 147. The stock has gone to 272, nearly doubled. If you can get to 290, I think you'll see 3 3/4 and 4.5. IFRX exploded on big news and then pulled back and did a fib retracement. Right now, it's doing this. I'm not clear of that, whether that's a bear flag or not, but I'd say that any move above 480 with volume could explode the stock, 5.5, 7, 10, etc. I believe it has that ability. IHS, beautiful rising channel, currently in a rising or ascending bull coil that could lead to $10 at 12. IMVT, one of my top picks of the year, been in a slow decline, but an orderly one, which you need on this one is over 16 1/4 to get it going. If so, 18 and 20 are targets. INOD started its move in end of January, when it ran from 3 and eventually got up to 8 and pulled back, but now moving back up again. Certainly resistance is around 9. If you get through that, your target's 11. Rising channel looking good. INTA, INTAP, steady as she goes, 14 to 47. Don't know how far this goes, but that's all-time highs and looking higher. $50 target. Intel, triple bottom breaks, breakout, and now the pullback. Disappointed that it pulled back below this level. So it might have lower levels to come, but the support now is 30, 29.75. INZY, pop wedge, and then stair sharply way higher. It's got a rising flag now. My next target is 785.8. IONQ broke out of its base and pulled back to retest. Perfect entry opportunity in my opinion. Next target is 7.75, 8.75, 11. IOT breaks out of a base, runs up and has a falling wedge and breaks out of that. Now a little flag in here. 24, 28 targets. Iridium, all-time highs here, folks. Look at this long-term chart. Pretty amazing stuff. Taking it from mid-single digits to near 70. And right now, this wouldn't surprise me to see 80, 90, or even 100. ISEE, this biotech stock finally broke out. We put a swing on it. It's been moving steadily. It's up almost every day except for a couple little minor down days. And should it get above, well, it's above it on Friday. Yeah, I can see a stock at 33.4 or even 39.40. LEGN, quadruple resistance level breakout last week and the follow through. Looks excellent. A little overbought short term. Any pullback would be an opportunity, targeting mid to high 70s. LNTH, beautiful rising channel, breaks out across the prior double top. Right now I'm looking for $100. Las Vegas broke out of a triple top as well, targeting 67. MAXN, rising channel above resistance too. Massive base pattern, 30 and 34 and 37 targets. MGNX, tech traded swing when it broke out there, it ran up to the first target. It's been months now consolidating. And so what I'm going to look for is if this can get up through the 770 area, then I would look for 10 and 12. MIRM breaking out of a base. This is another biotech that may run. My first target is 30. MLCO in a gaming group, consolidating for about 4 months after a big run, but sticking its head out above resistance. On Friday was a big day for it, I thought. Engulfing reversal day, targeting 16 and 18. Netlist, look at this little low price puppy going from 90 cents to $4. And then backed off, consolidated in some sort of flag. And Friday was a big day for it, breaking out on volume. My target's near 5. Nova coming through a declining top sign. It appears like it is, but it didn't close above it. So let's see if it can get above 19. My target's down at 21 and 24. OCUL, long decline, low 20s to 2.5, and then a big pop, flag pop, pullback. It broke out again this week on Friday in particular, jumping 12.5%, and with its highest close since back in here, your next target is 8. ONON broke out, put a swing on it, it ran up and pulled back and had a nice day Friday, up another $1.45, almost 5%. Headed for 36 and 39.40, I think. OPRA, a fantastic rising channel. Next target is 13, 13.5. OSUR also in a rising channel, but lateral resistance right now about to be tested, it appears, at 7.5. If it gets through that, it's a $9 stock. PACB, 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, but now flagging above the moving averages. The gut feel here is it's going to make a run at and maybe take out 12, 12.25 and reach 14. Perion did pull back after reaching 42.75 from where we first gave this to you back here at 5.75. But it has been a couple years, 3 years now. Nevertheless, it keeps going. Remember back then I said this could be a $50 stock, but we're getting there. PLX breaks out of a base and has a nice 5-wave rising channel. Little pullback may be an opportunity. Your next target is 3,320. PPSI went vertical from 255 to 549, more than doubling before pulling back, but it held well, and Friday it snapped right back big time. 470 to 555, it finished 555, up 60 cents. Looks to me like this clear sailing that may get this one up here. Next target 6.5 and 7. RCEL base breakout platform, breakaway gap, wedge, and look at that way that stock acts. How about this angle of ascent? It's a beauty. I'm hearing nothing but good stuff on this one too. My target is 18 and 22. Rambus all-time highs. I am incorrect. It's a 22-year high though. Right now, I wouldn't be shocked to see the stock make a much bigger move. If it gets out of this flag, we can run into the high 50s, low 60s. Roivant, one of my top picks of the year. Big run up into the early January period, and then like most biotechs, consolidating. However, the pop in this rising flag with the new high close, the highest close we've seen on Roivant since back here in January, tells me a test of that high might be in play at $10. So your targets are 10 and 12. Red Robin Gourmet, the restaurant chain, nice rising channel, little pullback, targeting 18. RBPH, pop, falling wedge, testing them 50. It ran up to the lateral price resistance, that going back into here, and then formed the coil for the last few months. However, last week with a big run up, it spiked up to 635. My target's now a 9. SCYX with an explosive 1, 2, 3, 4. Now coiling, looking for a retest of 3 3/4 and then 5. Schrodinger, beautiful rising channel. This company is sponsored by Bill Gates, I believe. Here's my target, a retest of 35. SCRA, breakaway gap, explosive move, and now an orderly flag. Looks like a reverse Friday. So a retest of 4 1/4 in order, followed by 5. Shopify. If 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th wave is a slow ascent, but I got a feeling it's going to accelerate eventually and get up to 60 or better. SLNO, pop, wedge, breakout, run up to resistance. If it pulls back and consolidates, fine, but if it breaks out, your next target is 6.5. SMCI has been a phenomenal uptrend for a couple of years now, taking it from high single digits to 120. It's triple top there, but should it get above 119.20, 135 and 152 are targets. Smith & Nephew, SNN, long decline, breakout, retest, breakout again. It's a big run up it's had recently. 27 to 32, not that big, 5 points, but still a nice looking chart. My target at 32 and 35. Spotify breaks out, runs up, pulls back and tests, and now it's in a rising channel, and it has been for 3 months or so. This channel tells me that eventually this is $150 to $160 stock. SQSP breaks out of a base, had a little wedgie, and then runs up sharply, and now it's pulled back again. My target remains 35, and then we're looking at 40. How about SYM? This is really accelerating here with a sharp angle. I don't know how far they can take this, but it's new all-time highs. Maybe they can run us to the mid to high 30s. Thread up, pumped out of a wedge. That's a tech trader swing. Not a good day Friday, but it is back towards support. I would watch the 250-60 range for a takeout. If it goes over 3 1/4, we can reestablish the trend to 4 and 5. TERN also backed off, but it had a nice trend last week for the first 4 days and then a pullback. Net though, really nice chart targeting 15 and 17. Technoglass. This has been in my list since it broke out back in November. And look the ways it can run from the high 20s to the mid to high 40s and more to go, 52, 55 targets. TGTX breaks out, stair steps, pulls back in wedges, breaks out again. This stock looks to me like it's going to 28.34. TMDX, big move last week, 66 to 80, 66 to 90, just the last week alone. How about that? My target was 92, 93, so we're almost there. But if it breaks out and we go through that, we may see near 100. Tonight it broke out of a base and went vertical for 3 days in a row. It's been up 5 days in a row, but the last 3 has taken it from 3 to 6, doubling in 3 days. Now there is some resistance up here that it has to contend with. But the next move beyond that is a move to 7 1/4. Viking Therapeutics, one of my favorites, broke out here, coiled. We put a swing on it in the 8s. It's now almost tripled, getting up to 20, nearly 22. And my target currently is 25. Verica, like that breakout of base and the falling wedge, keep an eye on it. My target is 8 and 10. VRNA, one of my top picks of the year, with a big 1, 2, 3, 4 now coming out of that, targeting 25, 30, and 35. WW, Weight Watchers, big move, but finally reversed on Thursday and had a little bit of a pullback on Friday as well. Not terrible. I still think the stocks remains in a rising channel. It was due for some sort of pullback here. What I'm looking to see is whether it can hold it right about there and move up to my next targets, which are 11 and 13. XPO Logistics popped. We put a swing on it, and it got a beautiful follow through to resistance. If we can get through that, 47 and 53 are my targets. XPOF, the stock's been a phenomenal rising channel for about 8, 9, 10 months now. From 11 to 32, tripling, and a new all-time highs. My target now calls for 35, 38. YEXT in a beautiful rising channel, stepping its way higher, bounced off the trend line. You have resistance there at about 10, but that's my target along with 11.5. Zeta also in a nice rising channel and consolidating. If you can get over 11, we can get 12 and 3/4, 13. And Zixi, I put a swing on it when it popped out, but it's just sitting there consolidating. Now, I don't know if it's got the energy enough to get going. I think it does. Once it gets above 12.45, I think you'll see 13.5, 14.5, and then 17. That's a look at the long side. Now look at the short side, and we'll complete today's webinar. APA, I'm bearish on oil. I think this was a rally back to resistance and a rollover. My targets are 35, 31, and below. BILL has not got another bear flag forming. If it fails here, you're looking at 57 and 49. CF broke a massive top from the bear flag and the rising bear wedge, and appears to maybe breaking that. 63 and 55 are targets. CI broke down from the bear flag, broke down through the trend line and bounced back. We put a swing short around 300. It dropped down to 260, 50 points, and now bear flagging and rolling over again. The next targets are 240 and 225. Clearfield's been on my bearish list since it broke support here around 80. It's dropped down to 42. It looks like it could be 33 pretty soon. Capri, breakdown, bear flag. Tech Trader swing short, broke down, now another bear flag. That looks like it, unless it gets above 48. But a rollover here could get you down into the high 30s. DDS, not sure yet. It did pop out of the bear flag. Maybe it's because it's forming more of a parallel down channel. And this would be nothing more than a kind of a bear flag with a rising angle. A break here, we got another run down to 260. The dyno in the oil sector looks vulnerable to a drop into the low 40s and then mid 30s, as does Devon. If it cracks here, we could see, I would say 47.8, maybe as low as 42.3. Fluor broke down, it's forming a bear wedge. Any break below 28.5, and this is vulnerable to 24 and 22. Keys broke down hard, bear coil, and that thing is broken. Next target, 130. NFE with a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a bear flag, and wave 4 looks for wave 5 to go to 22. Overstock's been on my list for a year, and it continues to look ugly from when it was in the high 40s into the high teens. Still looking lower. Target 14. PBH, not sure yet. I thought this bear wedge would break down. It hasn't really broken down yet, and if it does, look out below. Plexus breaks down hard and forms a wedge, and then pops a couple times off support. Now closing right there. This looks very vulnerable, 85 and 77.8. ROST could be topping in here and now in a downtrend, but it's at a key point in the trend. Any break here, we could see the stock going to 90. Two cows continues to come down, and bear flag after bear flag, and another one formed recently, only dropping it down. Now it's rallying back. We'll see if it's done or not. TGT, look at this stock. Breaks support here, forms a bear flag, another one there. Don't know how far they can take this, but boy, I can tell you that at least I think a test of 28 may be coming. UNM breakdown, rising bear wedge, and then a reversal on Friday. Be careful, this looks really bad. VICR broke a bear coil. It looks very vulnerable to a move into the mid 30s. And finally, oil stock BTLE broke from its top, from a declining tops line, and it's back to key support. But it feels to me like this could be, if oil does what I think it might, down in the high 30s. That's a look at the longs, the shorts, the technicals, and the indices, ETFs, etc. Have a great rest of your weekend, folks. Make sure you review this a couple times and get prepared for next week. It's going to be wild and crazy. HB out. Have a good one.